Aries, welcome to your monthly horoscope for October 2023. In this video, I will be going over all of the major energies for the month of October. Now, coming into the month, we are officially in eclipse season. We have the sun here in Libra in your seventh house. We also have Mars in the seventh house, and Mars being your chart ruler. This really indicates that there's a lot of focus, especially the first portion of the month, on relationships, close personal connections, one-on-one partnerships. Now, I do want to mention that we have the North Node in Aries in your first house. We now have the South Node in Libra here in your second house. The nodes indicate where we are going to have the eclipses. And so the nodes entered Aries and Libra back in July of 2023. And before that, the nodes were moving through Taurus and Scorpio. And so this month we are having a our first solar eclipse in Libra here in your seventh house, and our final lunar eclipse in Taurus here in your second. And this eclipse we're having in Taurus is closing out this cycle that you've been in and moving through the energies you've been moving through, especially when it has to do with your money and finances and money coming in from outside resources since February of 2022. February 2022 is when we had the North Node enter Taurus and the South Node enter Scorpio. And so there's been a lot of changes between, now and then going on with your money, your finances, your money coming in from outside resources. So there's been a lot of changes with your finances over the last year and a half. And so this eclipse we're having this month, which we will get into all of that energy, is going to be the final eclipse in Taurus, closing out that cycle, closing out those energies. So if we move to October 4th, this is when we have Mercury entering Libra here in your seventh house. October 4th, Mercury is going to enter Libra, bringing more energy into your seventh house, into relationships, partnerships, close personal connections. And so there is a lot of energy in your seventh house this month. There's going to be a lot of focus, a lot of thinking about relationships, a lot of focus on relationships and partnerships and one-on-one connections. Now, once we move to October 8th here, if we move ahead, Venus is then going to enter your sixth house in Virgo. When Venus enters Virgo, there's this mutual reception between Venus and Mercury. Venus being in a Mercury ruled sign, Mercury being in a Venus ruled sign. So there's a lot of focus on maybe even, the sixth house represents your work, health, and daily routine. And there's something here being integrated, being worked together when it has to do with relationships and your daily routine, your one-on-one connections and work. There's something here working together. Now, because we have a lot of energy in Libra, we also have the South Node in Libra. There is a lot of focus on who in your life you need to release and let go of. Venus being in Virgo, Venus is at her fall, and Venus is at her fall in Virgo. She doesn't do the greatest in Virgo. And because there's so much Venusian energy, because we have so many planets in Libra, there can be some difficulty here with maybe being too analytical, maybe overthinking things. And so try not to let that get in the way of decision making. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis, especially too, because when Venus enters Virgo, Venus is going to form an opposition to Saturn here. And so that can really have to do, with something showing up within your relationships and partnerships that you're having to move through. This can be a block. This can be a hole to something. There can be some type of something showing up. And also too, remember, Saturn represents boundaries. This can be boundaries being overstepped in some way as well. And you're having to address that with someone. Because, Venus rules your seventh house of relationships. So this can definitely have to do with boundaries, commitments, responsibilities, and really having to address something at this time. Once we get to October 10th, we have Pluto stationing direct here in your 10th house. Now, when Pluto stations direct, there's going to be this square to Mars here, Mars being your chart ruler. This is something you're really going to feel. remember, Pluto has that very powerful, intense energy and really gets to the bottom of, whatever it is you're currently moving through, brings whatever needs to be brought to the surface so that you can work through it, so you can transmute it and transform, possibly release and let go. And so that is an energy you do want to be mindful of around the 10th of October when Pluto stations, because the energy of a planet when it stations becomes more powerful. Now, once we get to October 12th, we have Mars entering Scorpio here in your 8th house. Now, because Mars is your chart ruler, Mars being in Libra may have been a little bit difficult. Mars is doesn't do the best in Libra. And so Mars is the farthest away from its home here in Aries. And so Mars does not do the greatest in Libra. Mars moving into Scorpio, which Mars rules Scorpio. This is definitely a better energy for motivation, willpower, drive, taking action. Now, this can also bring more of your focus to money coming in from outside resources, loans, taxes, inheritance, psychological healing, and transformation. And then on October 14th, we are having our first solar eclipse in Libra at 21 degrees here in your 7th house. This is a new moon solar eclipse. This is the first eclipse in Libra with this whole Aries and Libra cycle with the nodes. And so we have not had an eclipse in Libra with the South Node since 2005. So if you think back to 2005, what was showing up for you, this can give you an idea of some themes and topics you will be moving through, especially when it has to do with you, because the North Node is in Aries, and your relationships, your partnerships, your close personal connections. Was there major breakups? Were you releasing and letting certain people go? Because the South Node moving through your 7th house can definitely indicate that. Releasing and letting people go that are no longer in alignment with you. This solar eclipse is going to bring new energy in for that. And this is basically a stepping stone for this nodal journey. This is something, this is energy you'll be moving through until January 2025. And so there's fresh energy showing up for you around relationships, partnerships, and one-on-one connections at this time. When we get to October 19th, we are having the Mercury Cazimi here in your 7th house. And Mercury and the Sun are going to travel from, October 19th, 20th, and 21st. They move along for a few degrees together here in your 7th house. And so this can have to do with something showing up for you around relationships because it is your 7th house. This can be possibly meeting somebody, maybe getting information, having insight about a certain person or individual or one-on-one connection. This can also have to do with 3rd house themes and topics because Mercury rules your 3rd house and Mercury also rules your 6th house. And remember, Venus and Mercury are in this mutual reception. And so this Mercury Cazimi can really be bringing insight, ideas when it has to do with work, health, and daily routine. And also when it has to do with your community, neighbors, vehicles, also communication, reading, speaking, writing, all of those 3rd house themes and topics. And then once we get to October 22nd, Mercury is going to enter Scorpio. So there's this shift from, the beginning of the month, a lot of focus on relationships, partnerships, one-on-one connections. And as we move through October, the focus shifts into this 8th house of mental health. Mental health can also reside in the 8th house, psychological healing and transformation, focusing more on money and money coming in from outside resources. On October 22nd, Mercury moves in here. And then on the 23rd, the Sun moves in here. So you see how we go from having these 3 personal planets in the 7th and Libra, which shifts into Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. And so, Mars being in Scorpio and Mars being your chart ruler, this can really be a period of time where you are having a lot of ideas. You are being able to really focus mentally, going after what you want. It's that Scorpio energy too, which is about intensity, being very methodical with the way you are thinking, the way you are taking action. That is very much how this energy can play out for you. And then we get to October 28th, and we have our final lunar eclipse in Taurus at 5 degrees here in your second house, closing out this nodal journey and eclipse journey you've been moving through since February 2022, when it has to do with your money, your finances, material possessions, also your values, your personal values, your self-worth. That has all been going through major changes. This lunar eclipse is really bringing in for you an understanding of the changes that you have gone through over the last, and really a finalizing of whatever you've been moving through since February 2022, especially when it has to do with your money and finances. So if there was a cycle, this can be an ending of karmic cycles when it has to do with money as well, because it's the nodes. The nodes represent karmic energy, and the North Node being in Taurus may have brought brand new energy in for you when it has to do with your frequency and vibration with money, aligning more with that abundant frequency. It can definitely show up in that way. But this is really a finalizing of the energy, a closing out of whatever you've been moving through financially when it has to do with, your money, your finances, material possessions. Okay, Aries, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this helps you move through the energy for October. And if you align with my energy, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I will connect with you in the next one.